everybody, Cinema Sickness here with your daily sickness video, and as always, hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And since I am finally done playing around with my brand new book card, if you didn't see yesterday's video, check it out. Got a brand new book card for the library. All my UMD videos are on it. Done playing around with that. That's all set up. Also, reorganized my beta that I put back here on the shelf, which you guys saw yesterday. I didn't really like how they were looking. I moved them around, reorganized them. I think they look beautiful now. Love having my beta on this shelf now, which is kind of where I always wanted it. So very, very cool. Love that. But the big project of today, which is done, out of the way, checked off the list, and that is my brand new HD DVD shelves. Look at that. As you guys may remember, up here before was my portable media devices. I had them in display cases. Looked really nice, but pretty much completely impractical. I couldn't really get to them. I kind of didn't like having them up there. Again, it looked really nice, but it wasn't really working. So I took them down, put a shelf up here instead, and a shelf on the other side as well. Again, all my HD DVDs with room to spare, which is really, really cool and fantastic. And I've always wanted a shelf up here ever since I first built this library. I'd kind of always planned on doing that anyway, so finally, the shelf is up there, and I think it looks fantastic. All my HD DVDs are beautifully displayed on both sides. That is great. So that was my big project. That's all done. I vacuumed down here. No more little pieces of wood everywhere for me to step on and get splinters. That's all cleaned up. The library is back to how it should look. Will I have a new library tour coming up sometime soon? Maybe, I don't know, maybe in the next, month or so I'll do one. Not quite yet, but there will be one coming. Don't worry about that. But now that that is all done, and that is all taken care of, it's time to get back into the swing of things, and we're going to take a look at what I've recently been watching. So, let's do some reviews. Well, alright guys, as I said, time to take a look at what I've recently been checking out. Watched a lot of good stuff recently, so let's get down to it. And first up is a movie that was enjoyable, but maybe a bit too predictable, and that is That Awkward Moment. Watched this one with the wife. She enjoyed it, and I thought it was okay. It had some funny moments. It was an interesting story, just a romantic comedy, and it was okay. It's these buddies who all decide to just be single. They're be single for a while. They're all gonna do it together, just gonna have fun as friends together, you know, bagging chicks, but hanging out. No ties, no getting involved with anybody. That's their whole thing. But, of course, they all fall in their relationships, and our one character here is in the middle of, a separation/divorce. He starts to kind of, hook up with his wife. The thing is, it's about a half hour into this movie or so, once we get introduced to the love interests of our character and the wife kind of maybe coming back into the picture, as soon as all this happened, I turned to my wife, and I said, here's what's going to happen. This guy's going to do this guy's going to do this, and this guy's going to do this, and this is going to be the outcome. And she looks at me and she goes, you think? And sure enough, end of the movie, I called every single character out in this, and I told her exactly what was going to happen. I've never seen this movie before, and I knew everything that was going to happen in it because it's very typical. Everything, if you've seen a ton of movies as I have, you're going to kind of know where the story is going and how it's all going to play out because there are no twists, there are no turns. It's very much like, here's another romantic comedy for you. So, it's nothing special, it's nothing over the top, it's nothing amazing, but was it enjoyable? It was. If stereotypical romantic comedies are your thing, it is worth checking out. Like I said, I like the characters, it had funny moments, it's just very predictable, and you can kind of call it out within the first half hour. But still, it was okay. Would I recommend it? For romantic comedies or your thing? Check it out. Now, here's a movie I would definitely recommend, The Finest Hours. This was a fantastic Disney title. Loved, loved, loved this movie. It's all about this U.S. Coast Guard and them having to go out and rescue this oil tanker that is split up and is going to sink. And the crew of the oil tanker is trying to save themselves and trying to prolong the sinking of the ship as long as they can. But nobody can get out to them because this takes place a good long while back. What was this, 1950s, I would say? It looked like the 50s. I'm going to say 1950s. Give or take a decade. Takes place around that time period, and at that time, technology wasn't quite what it is, and the boats weren't quite what they were, and there's this huge storm that's coming in, and they can't quite get out to the ship, and they don't think they're going to, and basically a lot of people just say, go out, circle around a few times and say you couldn't get out. You know, don't risk your life. You know, it sucks as people are going to die, but don't you die in the process of just simply trying to get to them. But, of course, our main character is like, no, gonna do it, and does it, rescues all these people. I mean, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. I mean, obviously, that's the whole plot of the movie, is them, the fact that they rescue people. It's also based on a true story, so you could already figure that out for yourself. Again, I'm not really spoiling anything here. I'm not going to necessarily say all about how they go about it. It's a really intense movie, a great, just a fantastic story. Again, really good intense moments of like what's going to happen. Will everybody be saved? Will some people die? If some people die, who's going to die? Will the crew of the oil tanker die? Will the crew of the Coast Guard die? What's going to happen here? Really well told story, a fantastic ending. I loved this movie, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. Just another great Disney drama. They've been doing so many great, like true story dramas recently, and just doing a fantastic job with it. I'm hoping for many, many, many more. So the finest hours, see this. It was awesome. And then finally getting around to watching some of my biography in that box that I have behind me, I watched Amelia Earhart, Queen of the Air. This was pretty cool because most Amelia Earhart documentaries I've seen have all been about her disappearance. They don't really talk about her career and who she was and just her as a person. This goes into detail on just her life, and of course it ends with her disappearance, but it talks about everything else leading up to that, which I found very interesting. I didn't really know a lot about her. I didn't know that she really wasn't all that good of a pilot. She was very mediocre apparently in her flying skills. She didn't even really necessarily want to be this big star. She just really liked flying. She didn't want to become this big, thing. So very interesting to find out a lot about Amelia Earhart that I did not know before I watched this. So great, great documentary. I would definitely recommend it if you just want to learn more about Amelia Earhart, more so than just her disappearance, because again, every documentary I've ever seen has been about that, which is great. It's very interesting. I love hearing all the theories and all the history behind, what happened to Amelia Earhart and whatnot. But it's really cool to learn about who she was as a person before all that happened. So very well done documentary, as biography documentaries pretty much always are. Check it out. It was great. And then one that a lot of you guys recommend. I randomly picked this up, and so many of you guys love commenting this was great, and I had to see it immediately, and that is The Station Agent. And this was a great story about it's about kind of people coming together. There's a little person, and it ends up inheriting a train station because the guy he works with dies, and the guy leaves it to him. So he inherits a station. He goes there. He kind of a loner, wants to be left alone, but he ends up befriending this guy who has this this food truck. Starts kind of talking to him, hanging out with him a little bit. There's also a girl in the neighborhood, I should say a woman in the neighborhood, who comes around as well. They are sort of befriending each other, but then they all have their issues as well. They all have to work through that, from everything from being a loner to maybe being a little bit too much of a tag-along to the ton of issues that the woman in this has, where her son has passed away, fortunately died. Now she's kind of in a separation with her husband, who's having like another kid, and she's got a lot of issues, and things don't go too well there. But it's this great story of friendship, and I really like that. And of course, I like the fact that it's all based around trains as well. And if you're like me, you're a sucker for trains. So this was a really good watch and a very well-told story, and many of you guys recommended this one, and that alone made me have to check it out. And when a ton of you guys say, see that movie, it's definitely something I got to check out. And you guys are right. This was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Great, great, good story. See this one. And then I watched Liberal Arts, all about a older man going back to his college and falling in love with a college girl. And the craziness that ensues from that. They sort of fall for each other, and what's going to happen, what are they going to do? They kind of got to keep it a secret, and should they even get involved and whatnot. And I'm not going to give too much away, but it's sort of about also our older character coming to kind of find himself, and he's sort of living his life in the past. It's sort of one of those things where he's living his life in the past. He's living his life back in college. He basically wants to be back in college. He's not too happy with the way his life's kind of going, and he basically just wants to be a college kid all over again. He loved his time in college and harkens back to that and wants to go back to that. So he's living in the past, and it's kind of him coming to terms with moving into not necessarily the future, but where he is now, moving into the present and dealing with his life the way it is, and not, getting involved necessarily with a younger girl in college, and not going back to his college necessarily all the time, and him just kind of coming to terms with who he is as he is now, which I can definitely relate to. Definitely a few years back, I kind of went through, I don't know if I say it, hopefully not a midlife crisis, because I'm not going to be living very long, but, kind of went through that whole thing where it's like I really started to miss college and miss, like, my fun I used to have at college, because now it's just, not that my life's bad, my life's great, but it's still, kind of the same thing every day. It's work and family and stuff, which again is not, I'm not putting down. I actually have a really good job, and I certainly love my family, but it still is the same thing every single day. Whereas, you know, back in college, it was like everything was fresh. What am I going to do today? You know, I'm going to go to school, but what's going to happen? You know, what am I going to learn? What am I, you know, who am I going to hang out with? What friends am I going to meet? What, you know, what am I going to do? And then what's going to happen afterwards is, you know, am I going to hang out with friends afterwards? We're going to go to like a concert after. It was always something going on, and all this kind of like fun stuff that happened during college. And I sort of, at one point kind of like, I actually thought about maybe going back to college and stuff like that, because I missed it, and then kind of came to terms and came to appreciate the present. So I could kind of definitely relate to this. So definitely an interesting movie, definitely a like an indie film, but would recommend it. It was a pretty good watch. All right, here's one that I definitely had to check out. I mean, I've been hearing nothing but good things about this, and it's Disney, so of course I wanted to watch it, and finally checked out Zootopia. Watched it in 3D. 3D looked great. If you have the means to watch it in 3D, would recommend it. Zootopia. It was a really good movie. This was a great story. Now, I maybe put this movie up on a bit too much of a pedestal because I've been hearing such praise and love and admiration for this movie. And although I would completely agree, it was fantastic. Maybe not as like amazing as everybody's making it out to be, but it still was really good. It definitely deserves all the praise it's getting. I loved it. I just thought the story was great. It had some great heartfelt moments. Really, the story is kind of all about the underlying story is racism, which I felt really kind of actually played into modern racism, where a lot of it's, you know, racism against Muslims. I kind of felt it was very much kind of in tune to that, where there's predators and there's prey, but they're all living, you know, now they're living in harmony, but there's sort of like this one character who's maybe, see, I don't want to give too much of the story away. Let's say maybe you can kind of see her as like maybe like the hate monger in a way, maybe the Donald Trump of the movie, you know, building up hate and creating something that's not actually there to get all the prey afraid of the predators, and have the predators basically like they just want to like lock them all up and get rid of them, get them out of town, you know, get rid of these predators that were all, you know, at one point all living together in happiness and whatnot. And I feel it's very much a movie about racism, and especially again with modern day racism, with mostly I'd say you know, how Muslims are treated these days, where a lot of people just think they're, you know, all so many people just think they're all just, you know, horrible, like Al Qaeda or ISIS or whatever. You know, they're horrible, evil terrorists and stuff, which, you know, most aren't. That's not necessarily the case, but it definitely felt like that. So this was a really good story, very heartfelt, and I thought very in touch with today's political topic. So definitely worth checking out. And oh my God, the scene with the sloths, I was crying. It was so funny. The sloth scene alone is worth checking out. If you're not going to see this movie, if you're not a big fan of Disney, at least Google the sloth scene. Maybe you can find it. I don't know if it's on YouTube or anything like that. I can't imagine somebody hasn't posted it yet. But if you're not going to watch this movie, at least check the sloth scene out where they're in the DMV. It is hilarious. So Zootopia, oh my God, see it. It was fantastic. And again, it looked really good in 3D as well. And then another movie that you guys recommended a while back, and I'm only finally getting around to checking it out, and that is The Equalizer with Denzel Washington. Awesome movie. I didn't even know what this was about. I went into it completely blind. I've never seen the TV show. A lot of people were asking about that. No, I have never seen the TV show of The Equalizer, but I don't know, maybe I should. A lot of you guys seem to like it. But anyway, as far as the movie was concerned, again, I didn't know what it was going into it. And I love this great vigilante movie. I love vigilante movies. I thought it was great. I love seeing Denzel just kick ass, and just him going after these people and trying to set things right. You know, if cops are going to be corrupt, well, he's going to go after them, and just all this stuff he does to kind of right wrongs and get rid of the bad guys and whatnot. Just vigilante to the extreme, and just perfect fun movie. Except for maybe the ending. I kind of felt that the ending with Denzel going up against like the main bad guy of the movie felt really anticlimactic. It was sort of building up. They were in this I forget, like Home Mart, I think they call it. It's like Home Depot or Lowe's, basically. They're in this big Home Depot type store. And it's sort of building up. It's the main bad guy plus some other bad like little henchmen as well. And Denzel is setting up traps and killing them all off. And there's like a security guard who he befriended who's there as well. And it's leading up to maybe this epic battle where Denzel has now killed off all the henchmen, and it's only Denzel and the main bad guy who are left, and they're gonna fight. And it's just kind of like, spoiler, sorry, but Denzel just shoots him with a nail gun a few times. Like, there's no, like, huge, like, thing that goes on. I don't know what was going to happen, but I was expecting, like, okay, here it is, the showdown. And just, bam, 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 just shoots him a bunch of times. It's like, oh, well, that was easy. And that's the thing, too. It's like this bad guy, like, the whole movie was, like, built up to be this badass, this guy who, like, can't be reckoned with. You know, you're going to have a hard time taking this guy down. And Denzel's just, like, nail gun. Like, I don't know. I thought it felt a little anticlimactic, but still, it was a really fun story, and I really liked it. And I love a good vigilante movie, especially when the vigilante, you know, gets away with what he's done. So I'm definitely gonna check out the TV show. So this was great. I loved it. Thought it was fantastic, and if you like a good vigilante movie, check it out. And then I checked out Straight A's, and this was okay. It's a movie about this guy, two brothers and a wife, and the one brother comes back to the house while the other brother is away and his wife's left there. Turns out at one point they had like a thing going on, and they sort of broke it off, and then the girl got with the brother, and they got married and had kids and everything like that. But there's still kind of like feelings there, and they're, you know, now they're left alone in the house, and feelings are starting to get maybe like stirred up a little bit, and there's some tension between the husband and wife because they're kind of growing distant from each other, and the husband is actually like thinking about cheating on her, and all this stuff that goes on, and it's sort of this weird sort of love triangle type situation. But what ends up coming down to is you end up finding some interesting things about the family and about our brother who has come back after all these years. You find some interesting things out about him and some things about the wife that went on between those two and what's actually wrong with the brother who's come back. You find out some interesting things. So it was an okay story. I wasn't blown away by it. It was just sort of all right, but it's one of those things where I would say if you think it's something you want to check out, it's at least worth seeing. I don't think this is going to be for everybody. It's not something I'm going to say, go out and see. It was fantastic. But it's definitely one of those things, if you come across it and you're like, this looks like it could be interesting. I mean, look at the synopsis. I mean, I always get a little nervous when I see like a synopsis of like 1 or 2 sentences. It's like, wow, they didn't really have much to say about this movie, did they? So, it's one of those movies where I say, if you come across it and you think this looks interesting, I might want to check it out, see it, but it's nothing you need to see. All right, and then we have Is Anybody There? This was an interesting movie as well, about a family who has turned their house into like an old age home. They're taking care of all these old people. We have this young boy here who is not too happy with it, not too happy with the situation. He doesn't even have his bedroom has been taken away. That's okay. This kid drives me nuts at one point because his old bedroom was given up to another tenant, and they moved them into like, I guess, like an attic. His new bedroom looks so much cooler than his old bedroom. His old bedroom was literally just like a room. His new bedroom's like this big, like, cool, like, attic thing. I was like, I would love to live there. That is such a cooler room. I didn't get it. When I was a kid, if I had like a really cool attic, our attic in this house is just like a crawl space. But if I was a kid and we had a big attic, I'd have been like, Mom, Dad, can I move up there? Like, it would have been so cool to live in an attic. That'd have been awesome. So I don't know. I don't get the kid, but he's not too happy with the situation. And now Michael Caine, because the guy living in the boys' room dies, or was it a woman? No, it was a guy. That doesn't matter. Why am I worried about that? The person living in the boys' room dies. Michael Caine comes in, and he's now living in the room. And Michael Caine's not happy with the situation either. He's very negative towards it. He doesn't want to be in an old age home. Kind of reminds me of my grandmother right now, who's in one. Doesn't want to be in the old age home. Constantly acting out, cursing, not participating in anything, fed up with it. Again, very much reminding me of my grandmother, who's there in one. Used to be a magician. You find out this whole stuff with his ex-wife and what went on there, and there's some unresolved issues there. Now that his wife's dead and whatnot, and it's basically this boy and this old man kind of helping each other kind of come to terms with how things currently are. Kind of sad a little bit at the end with the old man sort of he's been losing his memory, and by the end of the movie it's really going away, and I'm not going to ruin too much at the end of the movie for you, but it was interesting to watch this old man and this young boy kind of help each other out and come to terms with their lives, kind of helping the boy come to terms with how things are and how things are going to become, and what, you know, what becomes of life, and help the old man kind of resolve some issues he had and kind of come to terms with his eventual sort of death. So interesting movie. I'd recommend it. It was fun. All right, last up here though, this was pretty awesome. I didn't know what this was going into it. As I said when I picked this up, I heard some mixed reviews. This is stuff I read offline. Reviews from every one of you is positive. When I said I was watching this, so many of you guys said you love this movie. So reviews from you guys are good. Thumbs up. But reviews I read online, I was kind of reading mixed stuff. I was reading everything from like really good reviews to like reviews like really bashing this movie. The thing is though, all the good reviews, I was like, that sounds awesome. Sounds like the kind of movie I want to see. All the bad reviews, like all the stuff people were complaining about, I was like, that sounds really cool. So it really made me want to see this movie, and I absolutely loved it. And that is Bone Tomahawk. This was awesome. This was such a fun movie. It's sort of Western meets like gory horror film in a kind of weird sort of way. It starts out with these well, there's these like bandits out in the desert, and they stir up like a burial ground. They bother these cave-dwelling Indians, Native Americans, Indians, and they end up coming to this town and stealing some people. So now Kurt Russell, our sheriff, and some other people have to go and try to get these people back. So that's maybe like the first like 15, maybe half hour of the movie or so. This is a 2-hour movie, so I'd say maybe the first half hour of the movie is them setting up the situation of these people disturbing this burial ground, these Indians like killing them off, and now coming in the town and taking some people away, including one of the guys who disturbed the burial ground, taking them away, and now Kurt Russell and his posse having to go get them. So that's the first like half hour. The next like hour of the movie is them walking across a desert. I think that's where a lot of people were probably put off. It becomes a story of people traveling from a town to a cave where these like cave-dwelling Indians live. And I could see how some people were put off by that. But I liked it. I liked the characters. I liked the dialogue. I liked the story. It felt sort of Quentin Tarantino-ish without quite the dialogue. Because I think of this movie, I kind of wish Quentin Tarantino would have done this movie, because the scene, or the hour-long, you know, across the desert part of the movie would have had some amazing dialogue, would have made it so much better. But it still was very well done. And it didn't bother me. I was watching it glued to my screen and enjoying watching these people across this desert. As weird as it sounds, it was fun. Then out of nowhere, the movie becomes this super insane, gory, crazy movie. And this is where things get in. The last half hour of this movie is pretty awesome. They finally get to this cave, and it's these like beasts of like they're like non-humanoid like cave-dwelling Indians, and they got these things in their throat that makes them like whistle, and it warns people, and they're all like in white and big and huge, and they got like bones and tusks and stuff, and they're all crazy, and that's where you get Bone Tomahawk from, because they got tomahawks made out of like jawbones and stuff, and they're crazy, and they're shooting at our posse and taking arms off, and arrows going through them and everything like that, and they eventually capture the posse that live. They capture them, bring them into the cave system, and they're torturing them, and they got to try to escape, and it's pretty insane, and it gets very, very gory as well. There's lots of blood and things cut open, and a guy gets completely sliced in half, and Kurt Russell gets cut in his flask that's been heating up in the fire shoved into him, and a guy gets scalped, and oh my god, this movie get gory, and it's just such a weird, bizarre movie. I don't even know how to describe this movie. Like I said, kind of Western meets like gory horror film, but in a weird sort of way where it's like the beginning's just kind of setting the story up. It's not really gory or too much or anything like that. It's just the setup. You don't quite know where things are going. An hour of people crossing a desert, and then a half hour of just gore and mayhem. It's so much fun. This was a really enjoyable movie. I would recommend this. I would say if you're kind of into like Quentin Tarantino type movies, it's one to check out. I'm not saying this is, I'm not trying to say this is like a Quentin Tarantino like esque movie where it totally feels like it, but I could kind of see how, you know, Quentin Tarantino would really enjoy a movie like this. I could see that. It sort of felt almost like somebody wanted to make a Quentin Tarantino movie, but obviously somebody who wasn't Quentin Tarantino made it and did, you know, a good job, but, you know, not quite as good as Tarantino, whatever, something like that. But I loved it. This was great. I'll be watching this one again. Bone Tomahawk. Check it out. Really fun, interesting, weird, bizarre, just good movie. I loved it. So there you go, guys. That is it. That is everything I've recently checked out. So like I always say, thank you guys so much for checking this video out. Be sure to hit that like button down below. Also, if you want to see a brand new video from me every single day, hit that subscribe button and you're going to get one. And also, if you want to grab yourself a CinemaSickness t-shirt, hoodie, tank top, baby gear, kids gear, buttons, hats, all kinds of cool CinemaSickness gear, head over to cinemasickness.spreadshirt.com and you can get yourself some out. There's even one new t-shirt up there that's only going to be limited edition. If you want to get that, head over there. And also, if you want to show your support for new content, just show your thanks and appreciation for these videos, head over to patreon.com/CinemaSickness, where every tiny little bit helps and is very much greatly appreciated. So again, that is it. Thanks for watching. Have a great one, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.